I wasn't happy with where we were going. I wasn't happy with how things were playing out. I didn't really have control over my future. The pursuit of knowledge makes the understanding of how to take those next steps, no matter what is in front of you, so much easier. I want general simplicity in my businesses and in my investments. And the reason I want that is if it's simple, not only can I, but somebody else can do it. Scale is all about getting significantly more out without putting more in.
Well, good day, everyone. This is Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders Mastermind Community and Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Well, I've got one of our repeat guests back here on the call today on the interview. I say that in jest because he's a good friend of mine, Mr. Rob Swanson. Rob, how are you doing, sir?
David, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me back. Look forward to it.
You know, that it's such a privilege and honor for me to get to bring people that I know well. It's not always the case. Sometimes we get, just like you do, Rob, we get a chance to, interview people that we maybe read books on, or maybe they've got a podcast and we don't know them well. And that's a great way to get started. But it's a privilege to get to interview someone who I do know well, because we spent time together in other groups, small groups, mastermind groups, where you get to know, like, who's the person behind the person.
Yep.
You've got a strong presence and a track record in the industry. We'll go into a little bit about what that is before we jump into the topic today. But what I like about you and other people that I have the chance and the opportunity to get to know better, is the character. Who makes you what you are? What do you stand for? Sure, you know how to make money. Sure, you love real estate like a lot of us do. But what really makes your character who you are? And we'll talk a little bit about some of those principles today. So anyway, I just want to thank you for being here, Rob. You've just like a lot of us, you have a history and a background that wasn't a straight line to where you are today. You started out like a lot of us in academia, searching for a career path that would provide freedom and security. Right.
That's right.
So just give us that little bit of background so we can charge forward where we are today.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you the short and condensed version. My wife and I have been together now almost 32 years. And back when we were dating in high school, I remember taking her on a date and we were walking down the mall in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And this is back in the late 80s. And I looked, they had a brand new Lincoln Mark V little, kind of the sports car Lincoln of the day.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, someday I'm going to own that. Like, I had no idea how. And, it wasn't a Lamborghini. It wasn't a Ferrari. It was this Lincoln Mark V. And I thought it was pretty cool. And I liked it. And I remember telling my wife someday, or my girlfriend at the time, who became my wife, someday I'm going to own something like that. And she goes, how are you going to do that? And I said, well, I'm going to own stuff to own that.
Wow.
And it, I didn't really know what I was saying at the time. I thought, I was planning to go to college for an engineering degree and yada, yada, yada. And I did that. I pursued that kind of traditional path of education, which, I think back in the 80s was even a little bit more easy to do and maybe a little bit more valuable than it is today. And so I pursued that. I did an engineering degree. I got a civil engineering degree. I came out of college and I started working in a couple of different engineering firms. And the engineering firms, I always had this idea that maybe I would own the engineering firm at some point. And what ended up happening is I realized I was in the construction engineering field. And so I was working, a lot of my clients were contractors. And, I'm the educated engineer that comes out of college, and I'm working with contractors who are, telling front end loaders where to go and where to move the dirt and, how to pour the concrete. And I have this arrogance about me as this youth that I thought, man, I'm smart. I got this education. And what I realized very quickly was that they were making millions and I was billing hours. And I figured out how to flip over to the other side of that table and that was where my education began. And, or I shouldn't say it's where my education began. It began earlier, but it's where my education began to take fruit. And I began to apply some of this. I switched over to the construction world, and I came into the business. And in the first year, I was one of 3 senior project managers and estimators. And I outbid the other 2 guys and out project managed the other 2 guys literally on a 5-to-1 ratio. And so I got into the thing. At the end of the year, I wasn't happy with where we were going. I wasn't happy with how things were playing out. I didn't really have control over my future. So I ended up in a seminar Wednesday night, Denver Marriott, 7 p.m. downtown. And I was introduced to real estate investing. And I went into this seminar to learn and not buy anything. Mm-hmm. I walked out buying something because I was so convinced after watching the presentation that I could do that. And I didn't even exactly know what that was, but I felt like I could do that. And it would kick my career off and in the direction that I wanted to go. So long story short, I ultimately left the construction industry and construction job. And coincidentally, the day that I resigned, the owner of the construction company told me that I wasn't going to make it, and that I was making a bad decision and that I should reconsider. And I didn't, and I left, and here we are, 20 plus years later. I'm happy I walked out that particular day. So then the journey of real estate investing, David, we can get into some of that stuff along the way, but that I wanted kind of the backstory catalyst to be there for people just kind of understand, how did this thing happen?
I really appreciate that, Rob, because I think, if we looked at the biographies of people that we would consider successful in whatever realm today, if you go back and read, is usually there's some kind of a turning point. There's a decision that was made somewhere, and the earlier the better. Now, these kind of decisions, like what you made, in this case, takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts because the world, people around you, oftentimes a spouse who loves the heck out of us, would say, "What are you doing? You're giving up all of this future that looks so good, so grandiose, and yet in your mind, you've been studying, looking, discerning, and seeing a different world, and really." I mean, other than maybe going to the seminar on real estate, maybe there's some other things you were reading that was giving you a little bit more direction, but it's hard to go against the mainstream, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard to go against the mainstream. And, I've been a consumer of knowledge for 20 some years. And, when I was in high school and college, high school came easy to me. I never brought a book home. My senior year, I graduated with like a 3.8 or 3.9 GPA. College was easy for me. I graduated with a 3.01 because I wanted to graduate with a B average, and I went mountain biking every single weekend. And that was easy to me. But back then I had this thing that I would always say. I would say, I'm not a reader. I don't like to read. I don't read books. And if it's a magazine article over 3 pages, it's not for me. And I used to say that, and my wife knew me from the time I was 17, and she remembers me saying this as a younger man and into my maybe mid 20s. And I look back at that and I think, what a terrible philosophy. And something woke me up at some point along the way. And I'm a voracious reader today. I love to read. I probably buy 4 or 5 books a week. Yeah. And my library is just packed. And so knowledge, David, I guess where I'm going with that is the pursuit of knowledge makes the understanding of how to take those next steps, no matter what is in front of you, so much easier.
Yeah, books, knowledge just open the door. It opens your mind up to the possibilities. Yeah. I think people, unfortunately, that like you went through school and you're obviously, gifted in able to, well, do what school wants us to do without memorizing, regurgitate for the most part, but, you're gifted to doing that. So it's easy. People get to a certain point in life where they've achieved what society says was the achievement level to get to,
Right.
the degree, right? Kind of the degree, whatever that is. And then they quit. It's like, well, I've made it there. I'm done. It's like, now I just go do my work. Well, but that's just like kind of in a rut. Like, why don't you want to continue to evolve? Yeah, it's a starting place. It's good for you. Congratulations.
Yep.
You did that. But it's like, why don't you want to evolve? Because to me, that's what life's about. It's like if you don't want to continue to challenge yourself, then why do you exist? I mean,
that's right.
That's kind of getting the weeds there, but well, so anyway, yeah, you went on, and I mean, your resume, if you will, going back decades, you started out, as you said, active, real estate investor. You've done it all, wholesaling and flipping and investing for the long haul. Active real estate company. You were the founder of the Colorado Property Investors Association there in the Denver area. So you got really involved, and I mean, I know there's lots of iterations in between, but today your company is FreedomSoft. Why don't you tell people a little bit about what that's about, just so they have context?
Yeah, I figured out a few years ago now that if I was going to be successful in business or as a real estate investor, I had to get really good at two things. I had to really get good at marketing, and I had to get really good at sales. And what I realized is that marketing and sales are just understanding human nature and solving problems.
Yep.
And on top of the human nature solving problems, there's then offer value. And so, FreedomSoft today came about because I figured out that I had to get good at sales and marketing. I became a really good lead generator for distressed real estate investment properties. I got really good at it. And so I was a wholesaler here in the Denver area, as well as in multiple markets across the country. And so I was the guy that would source deals. And, back in the day, this is going way back, you had to call the local newspaper, the classified section, on a Thursday afternoon in order to place your classified ad for $319 in the paper Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then wait for your phone to ring. And, you got to go check your answering machine, 12 times a day, because you don't want to miss that lead, right? So that's how far back I went in this business. And fast forward today, FreedomSoft is a real estate investing software. And we focus on a few things. We focus on helping real estate investors build marketing lists and generate motivated seller leads. We also help them keep everything organized. So instead of, running to your answering machine, you've got one login on your screen or on your cell phone, and you can see all of your leads and see the status of where your pipeline is. And then we trigger and run a whole bunch of automation. And that whole business is built around a phone system, because if you're the deal finder guy in real estate, you're talking to people over the phone. And so we built our software around a phone system to make that whole interaction easy. So that's where we are today. I still actively buy real estate. I just, my daughter, this is pretty cool. My daughter just launched her first. She's 22. Actually, she's 23 today, and she just launched her first 1,000 postcards to a marketing list to get inbound leads so that she can start buying her own deals.
Fantastic.
Pretty cool.
That is so good. Wow. That's fantastic. So yeah, so definitely, as you said, sales and marketing, innovating to solve problems, the value proposition, you're excellent at that, and all those characteristics. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that you brought up at one of our recent meetings where we were together, and you come up with some principles. And I love principles. I think principles, principles beget the strategies, which beget the tactics. And too many people do it the other way around. They just grab at stuff and they have no idea why they're doing it, and it's a hodgepodge. So your 8 rules for investing. Let's go down the list and talk a little bit about each one of them. And I think this will be really good for people to hear this. So I'll let you take it down that list.
Yeah, I'd love to. I will, let me do this, David. Let me give the list so that people can kind of see the process of where we're going to start and land. And then we'll go back and we'll talk about each one. So my 8 rules for investing, and this is how I make decisions around investments. I'm looking for the word simple, system, scale, margin, cash flow, risk, headache factor, and lifestyle. Those 8 things: simple, system, scale, margin, cash flow, risk, headache factor, and lifestyle. Those 8 things are what I look at and make a decision. Do I want to go this direction in an investment? Do I want to make this investment? This helps me guide those business and investing decisions. So simple is really this. I'm interested in something that is not overly complicated because I want it to be simple. I want the business, my ability to understand the business to be simple. I want the operation of the business to be relatively simple. I want general simplicity in my businesses and in my investments. And the reason I want that is if it's simple, not only can I, but somebody else can do it. And I want to build a business and investments that are simple enough that other people can plug in and do, and I can step back. So simple is the number one thing that I look for. The second thing is system. So if it's simple and I can build a system, then not only will I do it, but somebody else will too. So simple is all about somebody can do it. System is all about somebody will do it. And, you know, I've found in different businesses along the way, I've really discovered the value of processes and procedures and keeping things simple and building a system that somebody can follow. And if you can lean in and either do that yourself or find somebody in your world of influence has the skill set to come in and look at your operation, look at your business, look at your investments, and simplify it and put systems around it. If that's not you, somebody has that ability to do it. And system is so big because system leads then to scale.
Exactly.
And so scale is all about getting significantly more out without putting more in. And if it's simple, if I can build a system, and then if I can get out of the way and let that system work, I'm interested in businesses and investments that will scale. So those first 3 kind of set the framework and the premise. Like everybody talks, David, and you've heard this about scale, and everybody wants to scale and scale and scale. Well, most people don't go back to those first 2 things and say, well, is it simple enough? Have I built a system around it? And can I get out of the way and let it scale, right? There's audience size, there's other things that are constraints to scale. But you know, when I look at a business, those are the first 3 things that I start with.
Well, and to the part of the name that goes into our respective companies, Freedom Soft, Freedom Founders, is how do you have freedom if you don't have something that's simple enough that someone else can do and the systems in place to scale it? If it's always dependent upon you, no matter how smart you are, how innovative you are, how good you are with some technical skills, which certainly can earn money by trading time for dollars, but there's no scale to it. There is no freedom to that. And that's what I think you and I both discovered early on. Well, when you told your girlfriend, soon to be wife, I'm going to own stuff where I can get that, that will buy that for me. So that's really good. I think that's so important. And this is not the way we're trained in school, is it? I mean, conventional school, I should say, public school, the government school system does not want us to think this the way. They want our kids to be the workers and never have the capability to think about scaling and innovating something simple to a point where we can scale it. All right, I'll let you take it from there. If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.